Had it succeeded, would have deprived Arizona's voters of their right to have their votes counted for their chosen president. It effectively would have made their right to vote meaningless.
So, William, what exactly are they charged with doing?
So this is 18 people who are charged with conspiracy, fraud, and forgery. Just
it's time to have a Mickey's.
All going back to their alleged efforts to deny the fact that Joe Biden won Arizona and Donald Trump did not. It's the 7 Trump aides and lawyers that you mentioned, but also 11 of these other people who signed up to be what we've now called fake.
I made myself some Dino Bites.
Knew that Trump
I was watching Life Plus Cindy a little earlier.
Saying, we will go to
she's making a pizza.
Cast Arizona's electoral votes.
Going on a date, and I said, "Fuck yeah!"
And so they are being charged with being part of this scheme. As you mentioned, Trump is not named in this charge, but Arizona has now joined 4 other states.
What a bunch of
similar
celibates.
cases like this at the local level.
William Brang of Marcia Coyle, thank you very much.
I got a date with malt liquor.
Also this week, the
and a date with Destiny. Well, malt liquor buzz and.
They're being asked to decide whether laws fining and even jailing.
Oh, fucking hell's breaking loose.
Is cruel and unusual punishment. Supreme Court analyst Marcia Coyle joined Jeff Bennett to break down the case.
I'm starving. That's it. I was at work today doing some fucking.
Grants passed claimed that the city's ordinances
drywalling and removing fucking shower doors and cutting trim and sanding.
Punishment clause. They said they were being punished because of their status as homeless. And the Supreme Court has said in earlier opinions that you cannot punish someone on the basis of their
barbecue
status.
sauce with my Dino Bites, but
not status.
I'm telling you.
Our team
I've been like a ranch and a lot of stuff. My fat ass.
Brought the suit against this city, Grants Pass, Oregon, as well as Theane Evangelist. She's an attorney representing the city who argued before.
It started raining.
Today. These were people who had lived in Grants
so I just gave up
for generations.
Outside.
Certainly had lived there their whole lives and went to high school.
40, take a shower.
All of a sudden,
smoke a big fat J.
To live. This is not only not a solution.
Hopefully it stops raining, but I don't think it's gonna. I'll probably just kick back and watch some stupid movie.
They will have a criminal record.
Nothing else to do. It's Friday night.
As an employer or a landlord to let you work there or live there.
Absolutely nothing. I was gonna head out of town, but now
on the Little League field.
Gotta work tomorrow, which is Saturday.
Believed to be an overdose.
I'm not going to get out of here till probably Wednesday. Probably head to Duluth on Wednesday.
On our streets. We think it's safer
go up
and
there,
better for people to
hang out with some
avoid
friends,
camping in public,
have some fun. My uncle's in the hospital.
These laws help
go up there.
encourage people to accept available shelter.
So, Marcia, walk us through these arguments and how the justices tackled them.
Robbie,
well, the arguments really were dominated by this dividing
I'm trying to hit you up.
between
At least you at a 40, babe.
And conduct. For example, the
on
Supreme
Wednesday.
Court has said you cannot punish
not sure what
someone for being a drug
logistics are at this point.
Punishment on the basis of status, but
Probably
you can
won't get there
punish
till about
conduct. Say a drug addict
2 o'clock,
buying and
3
selling
o'clock, maybe.
possession of drugs. So the justices probed, where is the line here between status and conduct? So we had a lot of hypotheticals from the justices as they talked about, what exactly is homelessness? What is the definition of it? And how do these ordinances play?
And on that point, we heard Justices Kagan and Sotomayor amendment, cruel and unusual punishment, and concerns that this criminalizes homelessness. Here's Justice Kagan.
Criminalizes homelessness.
A single person who is homeless, so does not have another place to sleep. That's a status. A single person with a blanket. And you don't have to have a tent. You don't have to have a camp. It's a single person with a blanket.
Sleeping in public is considered conduct.
Sleeping is a biological necessity. It's sort of like breathing. I mean, you could say breathing is conduct too, but presumably you would not think that it's okay to criminalize breathing in public. And for a homeless person who has no place to go, sleeping in public is kind of like breathing in public. Your statute says that person cannot take himself and himself only and, can't take a blanket and sleep someplace without it being a crime.
So what should we take away from that, Marsha?
That's fucked
First of
up.
all,
Even though they
during the
fucking
arguments, it was
disallowed
pretty clear
abortion, now they got some
courts,
sense in their
three
heads.
more liberal justices are more sympathetic to
Jesus.
the homeless residents, citizens
What
of
a
Grants
fucking
Pass,
sham show.
because they do feel that they are being punished on the basis of their status. I think Justice Kagan really explained that as clearly as she could.
What the fuck's
Her
HUD?
position here.
Fuck
And
HUD.
yet the city continues to claim that it's not punishing status, it's punishing conduct. The conduct is the camping in public spaces.
Meantime, the Chief Justice appeared to press the Biden administration
Fuck HUD too.
in support
There
of
should
the
be no
homeless
homelessness
parties
in this goddamn country.
If there is a
No one should get kicked out of HUD for fucking doing drugs.
10 minutes away.
I mean, we're born with drugs in our bodies. Our body produces drugs. It's kind of like
Does
breathing.
that change the analysis here? Because you don't want to be taken 10 minutes away where there's a homeless shelter?
And I think if they're right across the town line, it would be appropriate to take into account that there's a homeless shelter there.
So what if it's 30 miles away? Is the shelter available in that case?
I think it depends on the accessibility.
How far does that go? Let's say there are 5 cities all around Grants Pass, and they all have homeless shelters, and yet the person wants to stay, and that person be given a citation.
All right, so help us understand his concerns.
But he was trying to probe
Wow.
how far the supporters of the homeless citizens who filed the lawsuit are going to go before a city can actually take action, as Grants Pass has, in finding them, even giving them jail time. So he kept extending his hypothetical from, right across the border of the city, 30 miles away. What if there's a whole group of cities nearby that have shelter available, and a homeless citizen does not want to leave Grants Pass? He was somewhat frustrated with the government's response because government's response is basically it depends. These people, these homeless residents of Grants Pass, have lived there for many, many years, and there's a community of interest that they don't want to leave.
And finally, Marsha, where did it appear the justices are leaning in this case, and what are the implications of their ruling?
Well, certainly one thing they all agreed upon and said many times is that this is a very difficult policy issue. So my feeling right now is that they are divided.
You can't criminalize being homeless.
And, they're going to go back.
Fuck's
try to
sake,
hash
man.
this out, maybe find common
Can't
ground.
criminalize. You shouldn't criminalize abortion either. For goddamn
The
it.
conservative majority is
For
leaning
goddamn
towards the
it.
city, and the implications are huge, Jeff.
Come on,
because
Wisconsin, get
many
out the
cities are dealing
fucking
with this
weed.
problem, and what the Supreme Court has to say about what affect how all
Legalize it.
cities try to address this problem.
NewsHour Supreme Court analyst Marsha Coyle. Marsha, thanks as always. We appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, Jeff.
Also before the justices this week, a Starbucks challenge to a lower court decision to reinstate 7 Memphis baristas who were fired after they announced plans to unionize. Washington Post reporter Lauren Kaori-Gurley was at the court and spoke with us about the arguments.
When workers in the United States unionize, if they are retaliated
Lauren
against by their employer,
Kaori-Gurley.
the National Labor Relations Board, the federal agency that oversees workers' union rights in the United States, has the right to go to a federal court and ask for immediate relief in the form of forcing a company like Starbucks to reinstate fired workers. So that's exactly actually what happened a few years ago at the very beginning of this Starbucks union drive that has now spread like wildfire across the country. There are more than 400 union stores.
I'll still probably go camping this weekend.
Starbucks fired 7 union activists out of Memphis.
But not tonight. Burnt out. I'm going to get more burnt out. Just say fuck it,
Now,
you shower.
Starbucks is arguing that
Got the place to
statement
myself.
should not have happened. They said that they fired those workers because they invited a TV crew into their store after hours, which was against their policy. They said it was totally so what Starbucks was challenging today at the Supreme Court was the test that the federal court used in sort of determining whether they could order the reinstatement of those baristas. And so the NLRB was sort of defending sort of the authority that it has in going to the federal courts to ask for that relief and standards that the it very much seemed like they were, poised to agree with Starbucks on this one. That, the NLRB, they feel like the NLRB has wielded too much power in that Memphis case, that there should be a consistent standard that's applied across all circuit courts in the United States, which there is not right now. And so it seems likely that they will change this test, or sort of modify this test so it's more consistent across courts across the United States, which labor advocates say could really have a chilling effect for union organizing in the United States. And I will say it wasn't just, one side of the ideological spectrum. The majority of the
Supreme Court
justices,
sucks.
with the exception of Justice
I don't
Ketanji
care.
Brown-Jackson, really made that point. Justice Ketanji Brown-Jackson appeared to be more convinced by the NLRB case that,
no abortion
bestowed the authority in the NLRB, the National Labor Relations Board, to conduct investigations,
and
that the weight of their findings should be prioritized by federal courts.
Well, tell us more about the possible implications of this case.
The labor activists really believe this could have a chilling effect on labor organizing and union organizing in the United States, which is having this sort of resurgent moment of popularity. You may have heard about it, not just at Starbucks, but at, the auto workers who unionized last Friday in Chattanooga, Tennessee, at Amazon, at REI, at Trader Joe's. And these court orders that sort of are at the heart of this case, they're not just used to reinstate fired workers, they also can be used to sort of request bargaining orders that companies must adhere to reopen closed stores, all sorts of ways in which companies retaliate against workers for unionizing. So I think if there is a higher standard, which seems likely that the court will do, there will be a much higher bar for getting that sort of relief for workers.
You don't like Starbucks, don't fucking get a job there.
To unionize, or which could cause union campaigns to sort of die out if employers retaliate against workers.
Lauren Kaori-Gurley with the Washington Post, thanks so much for sharing your reporting with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And finally, the charged issue of abortion was back at the court this week, this time in a case out of Idaho. The issue is whether a federal law requiring hospitals to provide emergency medical care overrides strict state abortion bans. More than 24 states ban or severely restrict abortion access, but there are 6 states, including Idaho, with no health exceptions. Special correspondent Sarah Varney joined Jeff Bennett to break down the day's arguments.
The Idaho law went into effect after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade about 2 years ago, and it made abortion illegal except when a woman is about to die due to her pregnancy. So the Biden administration sued Idaho, saying that the state's ban conflicts with a federal law called EMTALA.
Just fucking legalize everything.
Hospitals to stabilize all patients, even if that requires an abortion, not just when the patient is about to die, but to
people are
preserve their
brave for
health.
Christ's
And
sake.
there were some intense exchanges during the session today, especially from the court's liberal wing, who seem to take issue with the Idaho law. Let's listen to Justice Sonia Sotomayor.
Idaho law says the doctor has to determine not that there's merely a serious medical condition, but that the person will die.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference, Counsel.
We agree that there is daylight between how the administration is reading EMTALA and what Idaho's Defense of Life Act permits. We agree that there is a controversy here.
No. There's no more than a controversy. What you are saying is that there is no federal law on the book that prohibits any state from saying, even if a woman will die, you can't perform an abortion.
So what concern is she highlighting here?
But Justice Sotomayor is saying that if the federal
You guys
government
fuck the world.
to provide medical care,
Stupid
in the sense that it's always going to be up to the state then to make that call. So then conceivably a state like Idaho, which does have fetal personhood, could prioritize fetal life over a pregnant woman's life, even when that pregnancy is not likely to survive. And the briefs in this case are full of real-life stories of pregnant being denied standard medical care in Idaho and around the country. Justice Sotomayor described a real-life case of a woman in Florida. She was 16 weeks pregnant when she went
originally
to
aired on
ER.
April 24th.
She felt a gush of water leave her body. As many of us who have been pregnant know, that that's a premature rupture, which puts you at risk for serious uncontrolled infection. She was refused treatment because the fetus, which would not survive, was still alive, and eventually the woman bled out and was finally given an abortion. These are the kinds of cases that the justices were bringing up today. And the justices here were focused much more on the harm and suffering, permanent harm, hysterectomies, loss of fertility that women face with pregnancy. And at one point, it was actually really surprising. Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who is a staunch opponent of abortion rights,
that Supreme
seemed
Court.
kind
You
of taken
fuck
aback by
yourself.
what she
Go
was
get
hearing
fucked.
that was happening at hospitals in Idaho.
Go abort yourself.
I'm kind of shocked, actually, because I thought your own expert had said below that these kinds of cases were covered. And you're now saying they're not?
Justice Amy, go fucking Coney Barrett
Justice
yourself
Sotomayor
and
was
get an
asking you would this
abortion
be covered
yourself.
or not, and it was my
yourself.
understanding that the legislature's witnesses said that these would be covered.
Yeah, and those doctors said if they were exercising their medical judgment, they could, in good faith, determine that life-saving care was necessary. And that's my point. Is a subjective.
But some doctors couldn't. Some doctors might reach a contrary conclusion.
So, Sarah, in the Dobbs decision, it was Justice Alito who seemed particularly focused on this matter of fetal life.
You should have allowed to sleep and die
He
alone.
talked a lot about
Fucking Trump.
Regarding
Fuck
status
Trump. Fuck
potential
Putin.
interests of an unborn child. The hospital must stabilize the threat to an unborn child.
And
it seems that the
go kill yourself.
Try to eliminate any immediate threat to the child. But performing an abortion is antithetical to that.
Kill yourself.
And in many of the cases you're thinking about, there is no possible way to stabilize the unborn child because the fetus is sufficiently before viability that it's inevitable that the pregnancy would deny women treatment in that circumstance.
So put that portion of the arguments in context for us.
So Justice Alito here really appears ready to take up this question of
It's really a chess game of the mind.
the goal of the anti-abortion movement for a long time.
Whether or not
Justice Gorsuch
it makes sense.
mentioned fetal personhood during the arguments. There are laws
And
in
it's
Idaho,
not a game.
Alabama, Texas, and many states that say that from the very
But
earliest moment
if it wasn't for Trump, none of this would be happening. So Trump, go fuck off and die.
As you said, and in the questioning in the Christo case and here today, really signals a willingness to go there.
Go
to
abort
essentially say
yourself.
that if there's a toss-up between having to choose between a woman's life, a pregnant woman's life, and a fetus's life, that it's up to the state then to decide who gets to win out in that contest.
We know this case will likely reverberate beyond Idaho. What's at stake here?
Well, Texas is also sued under a similar premise around EMTALA. So if Idaho wins in this case, we can be sure that at least 6 states that don't have this health exception for the mother will follow Idaho's lead. I mean, we're already seeing this really play out on the ground in emergency rooms. So you would imagine that those types of cases of women showing up
Problem is
in
this:
emergency rooms
life and death.
would just continue to escalate.
There's no real definition of what it is.
Sarah, thanks so much.
It can't be proven in science or
Thanks for
nothing.
joining us here at PBS.
So how can you base anything
PBS
on a notion that really does not exist? It's like zero in math. It doesn't exist. You can't figure out the universe with a zero involved, because in the universe there is really no zero. It's not real.
Good evening, I'm Amna Navaz. Jeff Bennett is away.
It does not exist.
Tonight. Israelis celebrate Passover
So
and
why
thousands remain displaced and the war with
base
Hamas rages on.
so much
Protests against Israel's
on
war
something
Gaza spread,
that you
but look
can't
at how they
prove, you
compare to the
can't
demonstrations of the past.
even.
And the new
There's always
investigation
something.
reveals how some
There's
of the
always
food that
at
ends
least
up on our plate
something. There's never nothing. There's never zero. These are words. Nothing and zero.
And the way that seafood in particular largely routes through China.
I have no meaning.
Many, if not most, brands in the U.S. are tainted.
Our stupid minds make up shit like rays. There's no rays. The concepts are faulty at large. And when you try to base,
For the PBS NewsHour has been provided by
like a foundation of science on things that aren't real,
and friends of the NewsHour.
you fuck yourself
Jim and Nancy Bildner.
all the time. Go fuck yourself.
The Judy and Peter Bloom Kovler Foundation, upholding freedom by strengthening democracies at home and abroad. On an American
Fuck
cruise
yourself.
line's journey along the legendary
travelers explore Civil War battlefields and historic riverside towns.
Now, malt liquor is
At
something.
the peak of American riverboats, you
The
can
most
experience
powerful
local culture and
substance
and discover the music and history of the mighty
that
Mississippi.
you can fuck with. You don't fuck with me.
Proud sponsor of PBS NewsHour.
Because I got the mind of a lunatic.
The John S. and James All Night Foundation, fostering informed and engaged.
I should have been killed.
KF.org.
Sister, let me live.
Certified financial planner professionals are proud to support PBS NewsHour. CFP professionals are committed to acting in their clients' best interest. More information at Let's Be.
Because I'm going to tell you what Santa really put under my so-called tree. In reality, it looked nothing like a decorated pole to me, man. I should be glad I didn't quit. I'm getting too old for this Santa Claus shit. You think I'm getting presents made for free? I gotta pay them now. There ain't nobody paying me, man. Ho, 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 Merry Christmas, my foot. I'm gonna tell you what Santa really put.
This program was made possible by the corporation.
Kiss my mistletoe. Ah, ah, oh.
Like you.
Ah, ah, oh. 'Cause
Egypt has sent a high-level delegation to Israel tonight, hoping to revive talks for a hostage deal and ceasefire with Hamas. But Cairo also warned against an Israeli assault.
Who the fuck holds hostages?
Along the border with Egypt.
What kind of world are we living in?
Has already been reduced to a
Fucking
wasteland.
lame world.
Estimating 37 million tons of debris to be removed. They said
Killing motherfuckers. You can't even have fun on the streets. But our governments can go kill motherfuckers.
100 trucks. So that's based on that figure.
And you get thrown in county for what? A little bit of shake? A little bit of dust? A little bit of crap? A little bit of must? A little bit of dust? A little bit of crust?
Today announced a new weapons package to rearm Ukraine's air defenses.
To ream out the Russians for fucking up.
Batteries that Ukraine had
Fuck
wanted.
Putin.
Still,
And
in
fuck
Washington,
Trump,
Defense Secretary
all he wants to do is
said
lay
he
Melania.
believes this package, along
Everyone
with other
does
weapons, will meet Ukraine's needs.
They need
I told Life Plus Cindy, hey, you're a living organism. Start acting like one.
I would caution us all in terms
I'll be
of
like, oh,
Patriots
hey!
with silver bullet.
You should be dating.
I would say that it's gotta be
You shouldn't be
integrated air and
mating.
missile defense. That's what said so many
You
times.
shouldn't be
That really
getting laid this soon in the game.
The new weapons package will cost some
But you know what?
$6 billion. It's part of
Chicken butt.
$61 billion
Turn around
in
and
military aid
lick it up.
Congress approved after months of deadlock. Meanwhile, another member of the Biden cabinet, Secretary of State Antony Blinken, warned Chinese President Xi Jinping today against supporting Russia's war in Ukraine.
Hell yeah.
Two men met in Beijing. Blinken said he
You
told
tell
Xi
Blinken.
that China
Go
must
Blinken. Tell that motherfucker to fuck off and die.
or the U.S. will act. He did not elaborate, but he did acknowledge progress in other areas.
We are committed to maintaining and strengthening the lines of communication between us so that we avoid any miscommunications, any misperceptions, any miscalculations. And we are committed to responsibly managing.
Like Ho Chi Minh, all he wanted to do is be like America.
China and the U.S. must seek common.
And everyone there in Vietnam wanted to, but we sent a whole shit ton of death troops there that died. Got fucked up. We never won that war. We never should have been there. We should have let Ho Chi Minh just be like us.
So far, the palace has not yet said what
And
kind
now-
of cancer the king has.
And now we're dealing with the same crap.
Has again delayed a ban on menthol cigarettes.
Why do we keep perpetuating dumbness in the world when we should be
There are still
smarter?
more conversations to have, and that will take significantly more time.
We ought to be
Could have angered
smarter
black
than
voters,
that.
since 80% of black smokers use menthol cigarettes. U.S. poultry producers will have to cut salmonella bacteria in some chicken products to very low levels to prevent food poisoning.
Products.
The Agriculture Department regulation issued today applies to frozen.
Oh man, after this, I'm gonna fucking puff a big J.
Next year.
A big Mary Jane's coming over. And it's gonna be so herby.
Million infections
It's gonna go in my blood veins.
The
National Highway Traffic Safety
I'm just gonna inhale into my lungs.
Whether last year's Tesla recall went far enough. The software update aims to keep drivers
fuck around
using the
IVs and shit.
feature, but there have been more crashes since then. Today, the agency said the autopilot feature, quote, may lead drivers to believe that the automation has greater capabilities than it does. And on Wall Street,
fuck automated pilot. If you need one of those, don't get in the car and have someone drive Miss Daisy for your ass.
38,239.
Fuck out of here.
316 points. The
Automated nothing. Drones, maybe. But
on the news hour.
Drones aren't big enough to pilot. Don't want it.
And some of the seafood that ends up on
Free drones, maybe. I was sitting down by the beach the other day. Guy's got this little one-man sailboat.
On the new docuseries capturing the highs and the lows of his great.
And this drone took off, and it was loud, and it took off. It was like the one we had. You had, Robbie.
This is the PBS News
just like that one.
From WETA Studios in Washington.
Went on once, came back,
from the Walter Cronkite
landed, they rebatteried, and this little guy in this little sailboat. One man digging
around the world are
way the fuck out halfway to
Festival of Liberation,
Madeline LaPointe Island.
Exodus from ancient Egypt. But this year, joy is tempered
now I was just sitting there
and trauma. More than 160,000 Israelis will mark the holiday while
watching the whole deal go down.
Hamas continues. Still others have empty chairs at the dinner table. Their loved ones
had a lot of
still
fun.
held captive by Hamas.
Maybe I'll show you a picture. Picture this.
In the rugged hills of northern Israel, Metula's mayor patrols his town where now no one lives.
So this is Lebanon.
Lebanon is so close that this border town of 2,000 had to be evacuated under government orders. David Azuli moves around in a golf cart. He's moving faster to escape when the rockets crash.
Border town.
For Azuli, his town
Don't
is
tell me about border
was,
towns. I live.
now at Passover.
It's very sad. It should.
I live next to a border town. And you know what they do? They suck the life out of the
Israel's northern border
people.
with Lebanon is now an
They throw a hut in there,
second
a bunch of residences just to keep the rich suckers out.
into Metula. Nearly a quarter of Metula's 640 homes have been damaged. And only a handful of civilians like David chose to stay behind, carrying an automatic
Border towns are meant to leech off
This year we are not going
the
to
HUD
celebrate.
population,
It's very hard to
suck the life out of them so they never get anywhere except thrown out
is now in a bomb shelter.
for doing drugs.
None of this is normal.
And I say, fuck
Every mayor needs
that.
to represent and take care of the citizens. The place that's
HUD,
alive.
there's so many homeless people and they're trying to kick people out for doing drugs in HUD house. What the fuck? That makes no sense. Like I said earlier,
No personal life. We came back to the times that we
do drugs. But when people act out and start murdering us, throw them in the prisons.
Another resident, David, in combat gear, helped guard the entrance.
It's wacky people. You get all wacky.
My family doing the
And then you gotta like, you know,
I am now going to do Passover with our new family.
there's no
all the guys
answer.
that lives in Metula and decided to stay here and defend our homes and the village.
Many families from Metula have fled just 40 miles to the south to Tiberias.
What am I gonna do? I'm gonna build a quarter pipe.
Biblical times on the edge
Wall
of
ride soon.
Galilee, where
You're
scripture
catching you.
says
I've been
Jesus
watching a lot of BMX.
Today it's a haven for those displaced by war. The Sophia Hotel.
My skateboard. I got my skateboard ready. I think I'm gonna go BMX though, because I'm just loving the way people can just hang, you know, and get freaky. You can do that with skateboards too, but my runway is mostly set up gonna be for 20-inch BMX
At the Seder dinner, Rabbi
GT
Hector tries to keep the
to
Passover
float
spirit high.
above there.
There's
And you
no
know what?
songs. The table
The
is
gap
with special delicacies.
is gonna be
and the room is
closed.
peopled with a community
I will
that's
close the
shaken
gap.
but resilient.
I'm gonna do the clinic gap on BMX. I don't care if I crash, but you know, if you crash, you gotta try it again until you make it. So people do. You keep trying until you make it,
That's Sarah's granddaughter.
because you
It's
can't
that
fake
childhood
it.
joy that she wants to protect.
Wow.
Kids to be the best. I don't want them to feel that this is the end of the world. No, we're strong. But even this festive dinner is not without despair. There were sunglasses at each table to remind them of how so many of their countrymen, women, and children are kept in darkness, now for more than 200 days. Dozens of Israeli families still wait for their loved ones held captive by Hamas.
Every Pesach, I buy myself a new dress and new shoes, and this year I couldn't buy. I felt, how can I buy a new dress and new shoes when there's hostages? For me, it's very hard, because I think about the mothers of the hostages, what hell they go through. I feel like all the world just get up and scream and get those hostages out. It breaks my heart.
That pain Passover has for
I'm telling you, be grateful for what you got. Because it may be a soon time when you're fighting for it, bleeding.
2002, this hotel was the target of the
consciousness
attack on Israel by Hamas
swept from you like nothing. When you're gone, you're gone. Lights out. Go fuck yourself.
What we get in the Park Hotel for 22 years.
Alien life forms. Alien life forms. Look at that, some bitch.
In 7 October,